Hi, my name is Dustin Questenberry, and I'm going to give my presentation on death and dying rituals of Japanese culture, Hinduism, and Buddhism. I'm going to start off this presentation talking about the Japanese culture of death and dying. And this information is from an author called Hikaru Suzuki. The funeral industry took rise in Japan around after World War II and has continued to be a major part in funerals in today's Japanese society. After somebody dies, the bereaved of the newly deceased will call usually a funeral company to come pick up the body. A consultation is then made with the bereaved, and that discusses the prices of the funeral and whether or not the wake will be held at home or at a funeral hall. Funeral ceremonies are held after a person dies. These funeral ceremonies' main focus is to remember the dead with positive memories. Death isn't exactly accepted until a person is cremated. And so while the body is still a body and not ash, people treat the body like it's still alive. A wake is held as soon as possible. It could either be the same day as the death or the day after, but it's usually done as soon as possible. Guests are invited to come to wherever the wake is being held, and all the guests wear black, and the closest relatives sit in the front, while a Buddhist priest sutra chants. The majority of Japanese are Buddhists, so there's a lot of similarities between Buddhists and Japanese death and dying culture. The men wear black suits and the women wear either black dresses or black kimonos, and depending on their relationship to the deceased and the wealth of the guest determines how much money they give the bereaved. Relatives of the deceased will burn incense in an urn in front of the deceased, while guests will also burn incense, and the wake goes on until the priest is done chanting. While guests leave, they will give the bereaved condolence money. The closest relatives to the deceased may choose to stay in the same room as the wake with the deceased overnight, and the funeral is usually held the day after the wake. The funeral is very similar to the wake, as in everybody wears black suits or black dresses or kimonos. There is a priest that sutra chants, and there is incense that is offered. Usually during the funeral, a new name is given to the deceased to prevent the deceased from returning. After the funeral, the family places flowers in the coffin, and then the coffin is sealed and put onto a hearse to be taken to the crematorium. Depending on how old the deceased was, whether or not they were a child or an adult, determines how long the cremations will be. Cremations can range anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the size of the person. Once the cremation is done, the closest relatives will come back to the crematorium and use large metal chopsticks to take the bones of the deceased from the feet first all the way to the head, placing the bones in a urn. It is believed that putting the bones from the feet first to the head will make the deceased be in a standing posture. The skull doesn't fit in the urn, so the next closest bone, the neck, is considered the most significant bone to be put into the urn. The urn is sometimes put back into the home for a period of time, or it is gone ahead and put into the family grave, or has its own separate burial plot, which they are really expensive. Next, I'm going to talk about Buddhist views on death and dying. And this first part of information is from John Gray. There are different variations on Buddhist views on the afterlife, but the main concept is to achieve nirvana and end the endless cycle of reincarnation. Nirvana is the state of perfect happiness. It is also translated as bliss. Buddhists believe that if a person dies and they have not achieved nirvana, then they will be reincarnated or reborn with similar karma as they had in their previous lives. And karma is basically what you do determines your fate in the future. According to the Theravada school, which is the oldest school in Buddhism, if a person gives up all cares and desires, then they will be able to achieve nirvana once they die. This next piece of information is from Nguyen Tang. Buddhists believe that death is not the end of life, it is the end of the physical body. And one must live a good life to ensure that there is no regrets once you die. Buddhists pray for the dead for 49 days after the person has died. Although a person can be reincarnated as early as 3 days after their death. According to Tang, there are 6 different realms in which a person can be reincarnated in. The first is a spiritual realm where there's everlasting happiness. It is heaven. The next is the human world, which your karma determines what happens to you in your life on the human world. Then there is Asura, which is a spiritual realm where you're a demigod that is consumed in jealousy. There is a animal realm which is visible to us humans, where people who have done a lot of bad things are reborn into animals, where they don't have the freedom us humans have, and they are hunted or used for entertainment or farming. There's a spiritual realm where people who have done a lot of bad things go, where they are hungry ghosts. They are obsessed with looking for food or drink, and they can't experience it in their realm, so they are hungry. The last realm is hell, where people who have very bad karma go for a long time and experience constant pain and torture. Buddhist teachings sort of urge us to prepare for death, to prepare to cleanse our minds and let go of the attachment of things on this world, and the need to be and the need to have things, and to be grateful for what we've been able to experience and what we've been able to have, but to let it go so that we can achieve nirvana or eternal blissfulness. This next piece of information is from a Hindu teacher named Arthur Adiswarananda. The last culture I'm going to talk about on death and dying is Hinduism, and Hindus have very similar beliefs to Buddhists. For example, Hindus believe in the reincarnation of souls. They believe that your karma determines what you become in the next life. They also believe that a soul never dies. Hindus believe that those who have not attained Moksha, which is the end of the reincarnation cycle, will continue to be reincarnated. And it is thought that what you think about the moment of death is what you'll become in the next life. Those who have lived a pure life will go to Brahmaloka, which is the highest heaven. And there they will attain liberation, which is the ultimate goal of Hindus, to end the cycle of reincarnation. This piece of information is from Lemming and Dickinson, which are the authors of our textbook. To achieve liberation, one must be reabsorbed back into Brahma, which is the essence of the universe. It's immaterial, uncreated, limitless, and timeless. In Hinduism, dharma are the religious duties that determine one's karma. In order to experience reabsorption into Brahma, one must overcome spiritual ignorance and come to truth with who they are and the truth of God. This information is from Sahu, an author. Funeral rites are meant to show honor, help the soul smoothly transition after death, and to attempt to take away fear of dying and encourage virtuous living. Family members sing hymns, pray, read scripture, and recite the name of the god Vishnu, who is the giver and provider of the universe, so that the person who is dying will think of the divine right before death. If the dying person is unconscious, then a family member will whisper Vishnu in their ear. Cremation is usually done the day of death or within 24 hours of the death. The body is washed soon after death, and family members will come and put flowers on the body, wooden beads or garland around their neck, and then the body is cremated. The bereaved will take the ashes and throw them into a river or an ocean or lake, usually a sacred body of water. The mourning period usually lasts 2 weeks. If a husband dies, a widow will wear all white, and they will stop wearing their vermilion dot, which is a sign of marriage. Annual rites are done the day of the death, and food is usually offered to the poor in memory of the dead person. And that is the end of my presentation. It was just a brief summary of each culture on death and dying, but I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.